Hello everyone, welcome back. Update time. It's been a big year in transformation, in healing, in upgrades, and the last period of 4 months was one that was rather intense, kind of like the beginning of the year, only different. I was in a different situation. I am in a different situation than I was at the beginning of the year. And it was marked by a lot of intense events, stressful and intense, in the sense that they were triggering old wounds. They were triggering immovable layers of big wounds, or the remains of big wounds. And I was finally able to release those things. But before going into that, I actually would like to mention one of the biggest things, the positive things that happened for the physical changes part for my health, was the fact that now I don't need any melatonin to go to sleep. So this happened actually toward the end of November, when it was like back and forth. As in, like, sometimes I would still take some. There were nights when I need to, others when I didn't have to, but the events, the clearing that took place all this time, every single day, has led to the beginning of December of, like, I'm completely, healed. Certain things that have healed inside me, due to, in the end, the work of cleaning, because mind over matter. It's not just the physical body function at its best capacity when it has no restraints, like it's not clogged with certain wounds, traumas, certain beliefs that limit, restrict how things can function. So that's the biggest progress, and I'm very, very happy that this actually is happening, and I don't need to take that anymore. Will things remain the same? I don't know, but as in, like, for now, I'm okay. Yes, there is still a lot of energy coming through, and my own energy is growing and expanding, and other things that is happening with it that I can't talk about it. But the fact that now, when I just lay my head on a pillow, and the fact that I can drift off much easier, or like before it was impossible without the help of melatonin, and before that of other things. So I'm really, really happy and grateful that, in spite of so many stressful and unbearable things that have resurfaced, more of like I said, there were remains, rests of old traumas. Actually, in the end, those things only brought forth the remains of those old traumas, immovable things, like I said, and that helped purge this thing. But it was just, it affected a bigger spectrum of that. I would like to give you as example of like how energy works, in terms of like the body, as in like how to see the body from now on, and not as a metaphorical thing. You see, here we have seasons. We have obviously spring, summer, autumn, and winter. It's a succession of different levels of energy, because of certain movements that either accelerate or decrease the movement of the energy. So that seems like there's more energy coming through, or there's less energy coming through. When you are coming down here on the wheel of birth, death, rebirth, or like the wheel of karma, if you want to, most people down here, the way the things have been is that people start in the spring as energy in the spring, and then they exit in the winter. What does it mean? Isn't like they start at an accretion, like a starting point of the accretion, and then it's growing and then reaches the height point in the summer and then decreases, and then they exit in the winter time. Well, for me, things have been a little bit different. I came here out of sync. I was not born in the spring like everyone else. I was born, I came with the energy, as in like I was born into the energy of the late summer. Although physically I wasn't born in the summer, I was born in the middle of the winter. But energetically I came in late summer. And this has translated in my life as in like that period of time was my childhood, which was a very creative, very, although not always perfect, but like light in the sense that it was, yes, I was protected. As in like my childhood, there was a space that I could dream, I could surround myself with beautiful, creative things that I could learn, I was interested in, pursue things. And then in my teens, and my throughout the student years, and until at the point when I finished my studies, that was the autumn of my life energetically. That was a very interesting period because it was a time where I could feel that the things that I was working on, as a kid, as I was like pursuing those, my talents, getting those skills, they were paying off. So I was getting a lot of results in that sense, although not necessarily my life was always easy or always happy, but it was a time where a lot of things happened in this sense. So, and after that, I moved until very recently. I transitioned from that point when I finished my studies until very recently. I transitioned into the winter of my life. And what does this mean? It was a period of transformation and transmutation. It was like I entered basically the period of death, what people would experience here, like when they exit, it's like the winter time. Whereas I came here to overcome that, to break the mold, so to speak. And that translated, ironically or not, also in a physical death. Without going into those details, it was such a complex and deep and harsh and brutal in so many ways that there were many moments when I thought I'm not gonna come on the other side. No, it's not gonna happen. It's just like I'm done. And until recently, I was in this period, not just because I entered the winter where those things start to just like, basically those obstacles start to grab on you and as in like climb in your mind, and it's like just grab your energy and your attention, and it was overwhelming. And like I said, at times, many times, I felt like I'm done. It's just, I can't win. I've already lost. And then this period of winters, which is the transformation, which the things that I had to overcome and to basically step back into life, bring life back into me, into more than just that actually, was this work of transformation that I undertook all this time. And it brought me where I am. And until recently, like I said, I was still in the winter. And this changed the moment I released something important, which I'm going to talk a little bit later. But I just wanted to point out these things and to make you aware of this it's like how things work here. It's like the limitation. You start in the spring and then you exit in the winter, whereas I had to overcome that to make available eternal life and how should I say, eternal summer, where we're going to live when we outgrow or overcome the limitations from this reality. So that's another thing that was like revealed to me, why I was out of sync, and many times it felt really unfair and unjust that things were the way they were. But everything has a purpose, so if you choose to transform, to do the work, even if you don't like it, and you just continue because, well, you operate on faith like I did, it will lead you to something wonderful. It will go beyond death, it will go beyond the winter, and it will transition into the spring and the summer of the eternal spring and eternal summer of your life, which has happened for me toward the end of this period through certain events. But for that I'm going to go a little bit later, explain about those a little bit later. If you remember, I speak a lot about surrendering in other videos, and what does it mean? What does that mean? Now I would like to translate this into concrete things that are taking place or have taken place. Well, at least a few examples of that. Things that bring me forward on this narrow path. And what does this actually entails? One of the things that were hard for me to accept in this period of transformation and all this process as I was undertaking this work was the fact that I was starting on a new direction in life. Doing this work, it took me into a direction that I never thought that I was going to explore, which was writing. The writing was always there, but it was secondary. I never thought that I would do anything else besides whatever architecture, design, art, and things like that. And on my way to heal, in time understanding what I need to do, the writing has been a major part in actually going through this transformation, anchoring information, giving to you information. So it has been a big part of the path. But for the longest time, I've resisted, as in like not to take it seriously, because it's not that I didn't want to take it seriously. It's just I felt like I still felt like not an outsider, but like, not fake, imposter syndrome. Like, I have no business being here, although I know I'm good at doing this, communication, writing, things like that. But I felt like I was not on my path because I was forced all of a sudden to do something else that was not what I thought that I'm supposed to do. And in the last years, but especially was a particular moment recently where something the writing path was strengthened by certain events, whereas like now I've accepted that, I'm doing this also, I'm that as well, and accept that this is part of my destiny and I have to follow that to see where that leads. And that in turn has led to other wonderful things and healing, translated also into physical, which is connected with circulation. So when that moment happened, which was somewhere in November, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of things that happened over the weekend, certain things, that signs, and just that, and then the realization happened. Then the internal acceptance, like it's like, okay, that's it. The things have crystallized, have settled. I felt this warmth inside me and also in my feet. It's like immediately my feet felt warm, which normally they don't feel. It's like I had my entire life a circulation problem, obviously inherited from a certain bloodline, and certain problems, I guess. No, not I guess, I know. And in the moment when that thing has been accepted, settled, crystallized, my feet immediately became warm and have stayed since then like that. But it was more than just this. I told you that there's things about me, layers, that if you cannot see, if you cannot smell, if you cannot see in other layers of energy, then whatever I will say will seem like not just fantastical, but like, whatever, you won't believe, or not everyone, but like certain people will say, yeah, sure, whatever. So I don't even bother with those things right now. The books are a medium where certain things can be said, can be put in there, where I don't have to defend them. But coming back to what I just explained, so I was an immediate result of that, as in like me accepting that. It's like the moment I accepted that that's part of my destiny, everything again, reality changed, physically I changed again, and my feet were like having this, like under, like the sole of my feet had this golden energy, and they have it since. There's many other things, like I said, that right now, even if I would tell you, for some of you would feel like, yeah, sure. So I don't talk about those things. But if you continue on this path, and at some point eventually you will be able to see, feel, smell certain things, those things will make absolute perfect sense. And in doing so, it was more than just like I accepted this. It was like I understood that this is the way forward for real, and this had laid a foundation, a golden foundation. If you remember, before I moved here, I told you that all the work that I have done before that has laid a foundation, even if it doesn't feel visible or solid or whatever, although it is, doesn't feel so, but it is. Now this is a deeper level of that, which is very rare to have something like this happen. This type of thing, which is a golden foundation, if you want, which affects not just like energetically, I mean, when that affects energetically, then obviously affects the physical. So it's a different type of energy. This has to do with eternal life force, and it basically puts you on a different course that you would normally go. So that was a big thing to go through that. Another moment in surrendering was when I was cleaning a while ago. The difficulties, like the obstacles that, like I said, you don't see the obstacles that I have to go through every time I'm making a video, the invisible obstacles that I have to overcome in order to bring you forward certain information, do the transmissions and things like that. And I've reached many times the point where I'm not going to do this. It's no, it's just ridiculous. Every time when I'm supposed to do this, then this happened. No, I'm good. Many times I wanted to stop. The moment I have accumulated a lot of pain, frustration with that, and the fact that I feel like it's pointless. There's very few people listen to what I have to say, and most of it's kind of like not really taken serious or taken for granted. And the moment I released that pain, my reality has shifted again, but not just this. There was an immediate peace that has filled my entire being. but my face, I've noticed the moment when it's like has the features of my face changed, and I could see that when I was looking in the camera. It was a softness that it has to do with another layer of like how I actually look like, that is piercing into this reality, pierce through and into this reality that will, like I said, certain things will become more and more visible and apparent. So it was another moment where certain things, by surrendering, by cleaning those things, the debris, the blockages, and surrendering to the path in this way as well, has brought more changes and moved things forward that way in aspects that, like I said, right now they remain invisible to you, or most of you, until they won't. Another thing that is available in this process of surrendering that I've been working on all this time is the activation of a particular layer, the aquamarine layer. Well, there's other colors that have activated in me, but like I said, there's certain things that concern me personally, and like I said, there's things that cannot be said here because of whatever. Most minds would be put off by certain information, so then I would lose your attention, and the focus of the scope, the purpose of these things is to actually get your mind out of the distortion and the limitations. So certain things can be said, but in a certain context. So then I have to focus on other things here in the videos, so the mind won't reject them. So one layer of those things that has been activated is the aquamarine layer, which is basically the clarity, having access to truth, to wisdom, from source until now, and to see things clearly, as above so below, so you can see this beyond the distortion. Lately, this layer is translating, in my experience, this happened somewhere, I think October, November, as in like I would feel how my mind is blending even more with the field of other foreign languages that, well, I'm speaking and that I was not native of. And it's like things that until, it's like if you're not born into a certain language, that information of the language is restricted or available only born into a certain language. And all of a sudden I realized, as I was watching certain things in that, well, certain languages, I was like, how am I getting this? Like, I know that I can get this, but like, oh, so I would see things, words, phrases, not just that because I was understanding other new things, but I was just like I would be one of those that are like, oh, I was born into this. So what does this mean? Each language, or at least the way things are right now, there are fragments, they are locked into a certain frequency, into the color spectrum. And certain languages have a narrower band, certain languages have a wider band, but I'm not going to go into that right now. What is happening to me is that I'm starting to unify, those fragments start to unify inside me. The rainbow is like going back, it's like it's unifying, it's like it's all those fragmented like pieces of awareness start to come back together into one full awareness, which is the one, the Christ, whatever, awareness. And that was very unexpected and fascinating to observe since then. And another thing in regards to energy, but also in regards to surrendering and all this clearing, is has to do with energy, sources of energy, and how one creates that. So right now, for me, are available obviously my own energy that I generate, the energy from the sun, from source. Now another thing, through the clearing and all the shifts, the energy that was stolen, lost in different ways, it's coming back to me constantly. But another thing that is interesting for this period is like when it started to happen, that was actually rather like late September, I think, started to happen, was how I actually turned sunlight into energy. Well, you know that sun, as it enters the skin, it gives us more energy. But what happens to me, it's at this point, it's different than how things work here. Now it doesn't matter what part of my body is, like whatever skin part is, like body part is free, as in like to receive the light. It's kind of like doing like what the plants do, photosynthesis, but it's also different. So this energy, whenever it's like the light is coming through, is going directly into my heart center, and it's stored there to be used whenever and for whatever I need it. So that's another thing that has happening for a while now. So it's like the sources of energy that are available to me now, and how I actually produce and store that energy is different. Another important milestone that was reached in this period of time was breaking through the crust of betrayal and disappointment, and ultimately letting go of the blame. Is like getting rid of the blame. In my case, about the story that, well, in the end led to depression and death. Long story, which I'm not going to put here. In the books are enough clues. So indirectly, I was given the opportunity through someone close to me, someone who was going through had a similar wound, but this person was going about it, well, wasn't really aware of the problem, and was in too much pain to get out of the victim, from the victim space, and to see, okay, if you don't do the work, then you're not going to change anything. So for me, until now, I've done all this work of cleaning and wanting to get rid of things, but for certain wounds that are so big and deep, and that have been created in a way to not have in this reality any space to be released, because they are just given like in an absurd and cruel way, you don't really have the ways and like how you're going to get it out of your system, where you do not have a space. Nobody offers you the space to release that particular wound and situation that has led to so much pain and ultimately death. And indirectly, as I was witnessing this person's pain and feeling the weight of the blame that was carrying into the new relationship, and blaming further other people, either it's like, in this case, not fair, because the people now that are in this person's life haven't done anything wrong to him, to this person, so that he would blame them. Anyway, so as I was witnessing that, I felt this release inside me, and like I could see that and I could let it go. And also I would see the people that weren't aware of how they have behaved, or what they were thinking, or things that have led to, like I said, my death. Weren't really aware, couldn't be aware, it was impossible to be aware, because of how narrow the space in awareness has been, and the distortion, the level of distortion in them, in the field, and has been a big release, and moving beyond this, as in like has shifted the awareness in me, and not just as the moment that it's like it started to release. It was like a crust like around my body, and that was starting to dissolve, and like over the course, I think, of 2 or 3 days, starting to fall, it's like dissolve. And yeah, my husband was witnessing that. And anyways, and the moment actually that things started before it all dissolved, but the triggering point of like for this crust to finally be dissolved, it's like the whole thing, the place, my partner was here, and I was just like, all of a sudden everything was lighter, everything is like serene, like feather like, and I felt filled with love and peace, and like a big huge weight has been lifted off me. It's like, not because I have, like I said, worked all these years, but this particular part, it was an immovable thing that couldn't have been removed unless another situation, directly or indirectly, would have created that space for it to be released. So that was another big moment on the path of like moving forward and basically going into the magic. Releasing of the blame crust, actually, as I was in mid-November, was a demarcation point, and it meant many things. It was a moment like when I saw like the blending of the realities, as like the higher reality coming more, had space to come through more since then into here, and it's like there are more spontaneous moments of that. And it was announced actually, and like how it showed up. It's like it showed up in a dream. For me, it's like I was in bed and something woke me up, and like this, I don't know, invisible force made me sat up, and then I would see this invisible layers of the realities like opening up as in like a zipper, and like I would just go from one layer to the next, and then I was all of a sudden in a room, and then the room felt like it was closing on me, and I thought, oh, I'm going to die now. And in front of me there was a laptop where I would see the image of another interior where there were people there. And I knew that the only way I can save myself is if I go into that reality. So I intended to go there. So I was pulled into that reality, is like into where that image was. And I got out of the stuff, because if I would remain there, I would be trapped. What does this signify? It signifies that moving to a higher reality, it's like a death. And like you're being pushed out, like squeezed out through this door, very narrow door, which has to do with, like I said, the cleanings, like letting go of all these things, because this is a narrow path and you need to let go of so many things. So that was what the releasing of the blame, the crust, what I call it, was literally a crust around my body energetically, and then after this moment I started to see, like I said, more and more moments, and it's like witnessing like changes in other people's lives as well, unfolding and healing, and finally being able to move forward or beyond what they were in their lives. And like for the first time they would discover new perspective on things. It's like, oh, I didn't see that before. It's like, wow, thank you for showing me this, or things like that. So that was a big moment, and it's continuing in spite of what right now we're in December and we're in the low point of accretion, but still this doesn't stop things. So things will continue from now on. And I have to say that there are more moments of magic, of this reality that I've been carrying inside me since I was a kid, that are coming through now, and I'm being shown magical things. Every day something shows up, and so that was another thing that was so important, and it was a demarcation. It was a quiet but very clear demarcation after that event, releasing the blame, and then I would start to see in a very concrete way changes of the reality, not just for myself but for other people and in general. There was another interesting thing that happened in this period at some point. Actually, I think it was October, when I noticed it was the beginning of November, something like this. It was another day-to-day stressful situation, something that was triggering old wounds, things about instability, possibilities, and I felt like I needed support, some kind of like intervention to just like, I can't take this anymore. It's just this thing is repeating itself endlessly. It's like, when am I going to just find the peace? I've been working on this to clear this instability that I haven't created in my life, but because of this impossibilities of like how things have unfolded, have been since I came here, I had to deal with, and these things are being directed by the distortion as well. And in that moment of desperation, but also I felt like I just wanted to surrender. I'm just tired of it. I don't know how to solve this. I contemplated like source, like love from source. And then there was this beam of love that came, like there was nothing like it before. It haven't existed here. And it like warmed every cell. It's like it just brought like somebody's just, you would take like some big, I don't know, not just sleeping pills or something that would completely relax you and just send you to sleep, except it didn't necessarily send me to sleep, but like it completely relaxed me, and it just filled every cell in my body and in my awareness and relaxed me completely. And the transmission was something that went throughout the day and over the night. It wasn't like to completely relax me. And like to finally find a way that I can release that problem. And after this, the next day actually, I forgot what exactly happened, but I realized that I can actually call forth and not use it only personally, but also send it to others, and not something that I will always say, it's like I'm sending you love and magic to everyone, which is actually true and very concrete, but most people don't get that and don't really feel it because there's resistance and limitations inside them that block the reality, the awareness of that. This was something different and is something different. And since then, I can use it personally and send it, direct it everywhere to whoever and whenever I want, to help change the awareness. And this actually helps and changes the awareness of those that receive that love. And it helps them to find strength and power in them to overcome what they are and how things are right now for them and how they are in this moment, and to go beyond, like I said, this identity, whatever they are right now, because love is the most powerful thing. So it was such a gift and is such a gift, and it's here with me all the time now. Other releases that took place and that are important for me and for my path, and what they led to is, one of them is lack of help. So that was another big wound in my life, was the fact that I grew up in a family, in an environment where you had to be strong, and like, maybe, I don't know, because I was also the firstborn, I guess, the firstborn is, some people think that being the firstborn, it's great things. Sometimes, or most of the time, it's not really. There's a lot of responsibility, pressure on my shoulders, or on a firstborn's shoulder. anyways, and so I'm not blaming my parents or anything. It's just they also have received that information in their genes and in whatever, in their life, their education, and from their parents, from the environment, that you have to be strong and do the right things. So there was no space to be seen, to be heard for real. Now things are changing, have changed a lot of things. But anyway, so this was something that has suffocated me, and it was about the fact that there was no space for me to complain about things. You have to do the right things. Don't make mistakes. Don't bring shame on us, on the family, blah blah, whatever. Only my skills, my talents, those were taken serious, were respected, and those were the things that were supposed to bring me forward in life and give me security and a good life. And I understand that perspective. It's a valid perspective. But obviously there's a higher perspective, which only now starts to enter the awareness of humanity as a whole. As I was reaching this level of finally letting go of this big wound, actually this was triggered by an event, so this is how this came to be, the release. It was triggered by something that I was asked at the beginning of this year, actually, but only now it took me the space to finally be okay with that and release this problem. It was like this person is close to me, and very close to me. And all of a sudden I was supposed to take more responsibilities, although we haven't been in contact for a very, very long time, more than a decade. And not because I didn't necessarily want to be in contact. And I'm not blaming this person or anything. I understand the decisions about life and whatever. But all of a sudden, decide, oh, I need your help about this. And I was in a shit moment in my life, and I felt like everything in my life was in the air. And all of a sudden, somebody came out of nowhere and is like, you know what, hey, I'm gonna dump more responsibility on you. And it infuriated me. I felt like it's unfair. And I said, I'm gonna go get back to you when I'm going to be okay. Well, it took a while. The thing is that toward the end of this period, finally I was able to not just to understand, to process this whole thing, to see that in the end, what she did, she triggered a wound, a similar wound that actually this person has lived, but in a different way. And, well, this person has other wounds, but it's like mine were, I was the responsible kid. And it felt always unfair that, like, okay, I'm supposed to be mature, to understand other people's problems, priorities, always somebody's demands and priorities are above mine. I can't complain, I just have to do what I'm told. And like, that's why I said one day I will go to university and never come back home, which kind of that happened. And live my life and be like in charge of my life. And when you don't feel respected, heard, seen, supported your entire life, not even loved, I know it's very, very sad. Although parents say, oh, we love you, it's like, well, what I've seen and experienced didn't feel that way. And like I said, this experience, this person triggered this wound, and it took me until recently to release that and to finally find peace with that and bring another part of myself back and generate actually more respect, claiming that part of myself. And this came along with other things that started to release, things that, like, from the bloodlines, my mother and my father bloodlines, things that had created the anxiety in my life, this thing that things are never going to be okay, no matter what I do. And anxiety, when you, this prolonged anxiety, this goes into your kidneys, lack of respect, it's a historical wound, things like that, oppression, suppression. This goes into your teeth, also goes into your kidneys, then can go into gallbladder and to the liver. So it was a lot of things, that a lot of experiences, a lot of situation, indirect, or that those things were being triggered, and they were brought to the surface in a way that it made me so angry, and I felt like I cannot take them anymore. It's like has to stop. But then finally they had the space to get out. This thing is like being seen, not being loved, realizing they felt like, oh, so you haven't really been loved. But also I know that it's because of the distortion and what I am and the codes and whatnot. And the fact that my exterior seems that, oh, you're strong, so you have no problem, and it's like, so you don't really see what I am and how I am. Also things that have to do with envy, when people are unable to, I don't know, give credit to someone because whatever you are, you make somebody else, like you threaten them because they have their own insecurities. So just the fact that you exist and the way you are, you create in other people or trigger their own insecurities and the things that are inside them. So therefore, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, why did you show me that? And like, oh, go away, demon, evil person that you are, but you're not. So that happened for me. And all these things that have been released, which has been really intense and has translated as physical pain in my body, and they were coming out, and my husband could see those things. I'm not going to explain right now how this happens, but that's how things are right now. And because those are part of those things that cannot really be said here. The moment that those last things have been realized and released, especially the unloved part, one of the biggest things, the unloved part, I stepped into the summer of my life. This body has stepped into like the dawn of the summer of my life. But it's not the same summer that, like I said in the beginning of the update, the cycles of the life that it's here, starting in spring and then ending in the, like exiting in the winter. This is the summer of eternal life. And there's a new life ahead for me. That's all I have to say. And with that, the blending of reality that I'm experiencing constantly, also another layer that I've started to experience is the constant magic that I feel like I used to feel, like I said, temporarily on and off from this other reality. And now this is like it's pouring here. Finally, the magic, although this is not felt fully as it is in this other higher reality, free reality, is transmitting. It's like it's blending into this one. So this is part of that blending that I was explaining in a very concrete way, and that this affects other people that are able to pick up on this frequency and type of energy. So if I were to title this period in any way, I would call it the return of the magic. There's many other things, but I will stop here, and I think it's enough, and I hope you found this interesting and helpful. And Happy New Year's, and see you next year. Ciao! People expect, like I said, either someone to solve their problem, or go to, like I said, to a group of like take me and